Hi, everybody. Joe Cioffi here. Weather in 5 days in 5 minutes. And coming up tonight on the Joe and Joe Weather Show podcast, we will have this man. This is meteorologist Alan Kasper. Started his career in New York in New York City back in the 1970s, and finished it off for many years on New Jersey 101.5 radio. He's a great forecaster and was certainly an inspiration to me and Joe Rayo to do what we're doing today. So we're going to have him on as our guest. So tune in tonight at 7:35 p.m. on the Joe and Joe Weather Show podcast. Got another nice day in the eastern part of the United States. We've had a cold high up to the north. That's in New Brunswick this morning. That'll be moving offshore. So I think we'll be able to see some moderation in temperatures today, as yesterday we had a tough time getting out of the 30s across eastern Pennsylvania to southern New England. I think today we should see many areas reach up into the 40s, and that'll help accelerate the snow melt. That high has a nose all the way down to Florida, and it's making for some very nice weather there. Weather conditions are getting a little better in the west. We had a major storm offshore. They got a ton of rain across California and heavy snows in the mountains. That's starting to relax now, so that is a good thing. And here's what it looks like on the satellite loop as skies are, for the most part, clear up and down the eastern seaboard. We've got some morning low clouds along the coast, but that'll all burn off shortly. Storm is offshore, and you have to really head out to the west. We've got areas of clouds and moisture from that energy that has moved inland into the west coast. Radars in the east, up and down the eastern seaboard, are quiet today. We have some light precipitation moving across the northern Great Lakes, and still some areas of patchy rain and even some heavy rain in parts of Southern California. But there are large areas that in the west where they're not seeing much of anything. And also, we're seeing some snows up into the mountains of northeastern Nevada and into parts of Utah and northwestern Colorado. More rain coming into the Pacific Northwest. WPC for the next 7 days. There's a weather front that is moving eastward, and that will produce rain in the Ohio Valley and even down into the Tennessee Valley on the order of 3/4 of an inch to some places an inch and a half plus. But much of that heavy rain is going to pass well to the west and northwest of areas from Maine down up and down the eastern seaboard, where rainfall amounts are much less, 1/4 of an inch or so up in New England down to central New Jersey. And then we go to 1/10 of an inch or less as we head down through the Carolinas and into Georgia. And of course, out in the west, calming down a bit in California over the next several days. We're going to see that trend continue, but heavy rains are going to continue for the Pacific Northwest now for the next 7 days along the coast, with heavy mountain snows possible in the Cascades. WPC on their snow forecast map. This is the probability for at least 2 inches. And we're seeing, for Maine anyway, the chance that there could be at least a few inches of snow from northern New Hampshire on up through interior Maine. It tails off as you go further west into New York State, and then out in the western part of the U.S. as we take a look. Some areas where we're seeing some higher probabilities for at least a couple of inches, mainly in Utah and western Colorado. Lower probabilities now setting up across the mountains in the west. Overall, it's kind of a quiet time that we're settling into across the United States. There's no major storms around. And here's our weather system for Thursday from Missouri to Ohio with some rain. I think for the east, of course, we have a nice day today, and enough of that high should hold on to keep much of the date side Thursday dry. But rains will come in during Thursday evening, a few showers, maybe some snow on the northern end in northern New England. That cold front's going to move on through, and then there's a secondary front that'll pass by later on Friday as this system moves out, and that's going to bring cold, dry air for the weekend. I think Saturday is going to wind up being particularly cold up and down the eastern seaboard. Might even be some snow in the mountains of southern West Virginia, western Virginia, eastern Kentucky, western North Carolina, and eastern Tennessee during the day on Saturday into Saturday evening. Might even reach down to me in North Georgia. Otherwise, the weekend looks dry. There's another cold front coming on Monday, but most of that cold air goes up into Canada, and really nothing in terms of anything important storm wise until maybe later next week. And even here, it looks like nothing more than a cold front with some showers, maybe for the middle part of next week. So don't forget, tonight, the Joe and Joe Weather Show podcast, Alan Kasper will be our special guest, and that's at 7:35 p.m. Eastern Time. Mark it down, and we'll see you then.